Okay, thanks, Jules, and it's a great pleasure to be here today. I was interested in that final conversation there in the last session, particularly with the panel, and it occurred to me that maybe we're in part victims of our discipline when we're talking about moving jobs and the like. But if you think about a procurement professional presenting at an interview or presenting in any sort of transaction, and an interview is absolutely a transaction. You're selling yourself into the job or you're buying the job one way or the other. It's a transaction. But if a procurement person looks at their transaction, do they look at it they look for completeness. They look for, am I getting everything I'm sort of buying? And if they impose that same discipline on themselves, they're probably realistic about their perhaps 7 out of 10 for this task. A marketing guy is out there trying to make sure he covers up any shortcomings in his product. So he's 11 out of 10 for this task. And thinking through to the finance side of things, it's perhaps a little bit, there's good and bad finance. In my experience, that's definitely the case. But if you go, finance generally will prepare information or prepare data and then discover information value in it. And the good ones will be then, what use can this information be put to? And that's a bit of a difference. So I think for young up and coming procurement people, I think it's important to be self-aware that they don't self-restrict and self-limit. On a totally unrelated matter, I think the same is true for gender. I think men will generally be less worried about the shortcomings, and women will be self-aware of shortcomings and sort of factor that into the conversation, but that's got nothing to do with our topic today. So it's a great pleasure to be here. I'm going to talk a bit about, I think procurement generally has done a great job thus far, and the question really is what's next. So the lemon's been well and truly squeezed in most cases, but how do we break through the next layer of cost paradigms? In my view, intrapreneurship is very much the go. How to be able to deliver extraordinary outcomes if we haven't got extraordinary people coming up with extraordinary ideas and having extraordinary delivery capacity. I want to generate an ongoing conversation that inspires this new generation of entrepreneurs, people inside the organisation who can very much operate outside it, to drive innovation and lead change. We want to create this groundswell for corporations and governments. I think it's very important to develop this creativity, cost consciousness and cost conscious leaders and breakthrough solutions. We've got to get people on the bus in terms of taking this debate forward. But bringing big ideas to fruition in big companies is often very difficult. A big part of organisations set up structures to deliberately suppress big ideas. We need to recognise that great outcomes in large corporations and delivery of big ideas happens more often than not despite corporate structures rather than being facilitated by them. That means that they're often tough to incubate and they're often getting crushed on the way through. And they get crushed because of competing interests, they get crushed because of politics, they get crushed because of time and risk management, and in some circumstances, they're not really that big idea, they're actually dumb ideas anyway, so it probably doesn't get up. But anyway, the idea is really you've got to get support for your idea. And this could be the key to success in getting things through, so hopefully I can get a couple of tips into the process. I want to cover 4 topics: coming up with the big ideas, getting support for the big ideas, implementing the big ideas, and finally, for what it's worth, and $2 in this opinion will get you a cup of coffee in London, my views on the opportunities for procurement in social media. But before I start, just about the big ideas. They're set macro, but often delivered micro. Do I care if $50 million is delivered by 50 times 1 or 10 times 5? I'm ambivalent about that. So it's really a function about don't get too concerned about how it's going to be delivered, but make sure that we have the path to delivery.